We continue our work at Ukraine Crisis Media Center, and now I give the floor to Liashenko, Ministry of Defense spokesman on Russian military aggression in eastern Ukraine.
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the weekly update on Russian aggression against Ukraine in the period between August 28th and September the 3rd. The number of ceasefire violations committed by Russia-backed militants ranged between 19 on Monday and Wednesday, that is August 28th and 30th respectively, and 44 on Sunday, that is September the 3rd. The total number of ceasefire violations committed by Russia-backed militants over the week amounts to 173 times, including 18 shellings with the use of heavy weaponry. Now let's have a look at the overall situation along the front line over the past week. And we'll start with the Luhansk sector. Fortunately, Russia-backed militants refrained from using heavy weapons against the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in this sector over the past week. The intensity of enemy fire also dropped significantly. On average, Russian proxies committed 2 ceasefire violations per day, predominantly with the use of grenade launchers. These violations were registered in the vicinity of Stanitsa Luhanske, Lobachove, Krymske, and Katerynivka. Last week, the daily number of ceasefire violations by the enemy in Luhansk sector ranged between 0 on August 30th and 4 on September the 1st. Now, a few words on the Donetsk sector. Last week, the intensity of enemy fire in this sector was the highest among the entire front line. The invaders were regularly engaging the positions of Ukrainian defenders in the vicinity of Avdiivka and Zaitsevo. On August 28th and 30th, Russian proxies opened low-intensity mortar fire against Avdiivka area. From Thursday to Saturday, Russia-equipped militants repeatedly engaged the positions of the Ukrainian soldiers to the north of Horlivka as well as in Avdiivka. They were using grenade launchers and less frequently the armament of their infantry fighting vehicles. On Sunday, the situation escalated as Russian proxies opened medium-intensity mortar fire against Zaitsevo, having discharged over 15 mortar bombs against the positions of the Ukrainian army. Last week, the daily number of ceasefire violations by the enemy in the Donetsk sector ranged between 11 on August 28th and 23 on September the 3rd. And now we'll go to the Mariupol sector, and the situation in this sector was rather unstable over the past week. On August 28th, the Russia-trained militants opened mortar fire at Krasnogorivka, having discharged a total of 20 mortar bombs against the positions of the Ukrainian army. On August 30th, invaders opened mortar fire against Lebedinske, while on the next day, and that is August 21st, they were using tanks to fire at Marinka. On September the 2nd, Russian proxies repeatedly violated ceasefire, using grenade launchers to shell the positions of Ukrainian armed forces along southern coastal defense lines. The situation in this sector further escalated on Sunday as invaders engaged Pavlopil and Hnutove with mortars, having fired a total of 25 mortar bombs. Last week, the daily number of ceasefire violations by the enemy in the Mariupol sector ranged between 2 on September the 1st and 19, which happened on September the 3rd. Over the past week, Ukrainian troops registered 5 episodes of hostile drones conducting aerial reconnaissance in the ATO area. Russia continues to supply its proxies in eastern Ukraine, although to a lesser extent. We have identified 2 railway echelons of 16 tank cars carrying a total of 960 tons of fuel that arrived from Russia to the occupied territories in eastern Ukraine last week. According to reports coming from our military intelligence, the number of confirmed casualties among Russian proxies last week amounts to 7 killed and 18 wounded. Fortunately, none of the servicemen of the Ukrainian armed forces have sustained fatal casualties, although 2 servicemen were wounded in action. Despite the relative de-escalation of the situation along the contact line in eastern Ukraine, enemy continued with its practice of shelling residential and industrial areas within villages and towns located over the front line. Last week, this resulted in wounding 1 civilian woman in Stanitsa Luhanska, which is located in the Luhansk sector. In addition to this, Russian proxies damaged her house. The incident happened on August 28. Besides, militants destroyed a private home in Mariinka, which is located in the Mariupol sector, and damaged a non-residential building in Zaitsevo, which is in Donetsk sector. Last week, a total of 16 trucks loaded with humanitarian assistance for civilians residing on a temporarily uncontrolled area of eastern Ukraine crossed through the governmental checkpoints, which happened with the coordination and support from Ukrainian authorities. They were carrying 140 tons in food, medicine, constructional materials, personal hygiene products, and study kits for the children. These were donated by the International Committee of the Red Cross, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, particularly his representative in Ukraine, as well as other charity foundations. Now, this concludes my briefing, and if there are any questions and comments, I'd be happy to answer. If not, this is the end. Please, thank you.
Thank you.